is Stella Field. She's a librarian at the Welch Medical Library that has graciously come down from Boston to join us for today. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for the invitation. I've been asked to speak about libraries and nursing inquiry. So why are libraries important for nursing inquiry? Well, you need information. You need it for a lot of things. Evidence-based care, evidence-based practice projects, lifelong learning, a lot of evidence in there too. So how can libraries help you? We can help you by saving time, and we can help provide practice-changing information. And I'm not just making this up, I actually cited it from an article written in the library literature about how librarians can help. So I have a lot of slides and a very short amount of time to talk, so I probably will start talking very fast. What I'm planning to do is give you a virtual tour of the library's website, and that will take up most of this presentation. We'll talk about collections and access, the research tools the library has, some library guides that are of particular interest to nurses, the Welch Library Instruction Program, most of which is done virtually, so you sign up and attend via Zoom. The literature search process, if I have time for that. So our collections and access. What you're seeing here is a picture of the Welch Library website, and the homepage is the gateway to the resources that we provide and all of our collections. Our library address, well, web address is welch.jhmi.edu. You feel free to Google it. If you go into my JH, you can go down to library, see the Welch Library. You can click the little heart and make it a favorite, so it shows up at the top. The benefit of going to the Welch is we've got it organized with health information and the resources that we provide. So it's with an idea to give you the best access. You'll see our frequently used resources are highlighted on the left. They're key resources, and there you'll find access to the most used clinical tools, such as Clinical Key, Micromedics, Dynamedics. Dynamedics is now Dynamed and Micromedics. They're now one product. Up to date, PubMed, etc. Briefly want to talk about off-campus access. So you can get to these resources both while you're physically here on campus, but you also, because you're part of Hopkins, have access when you're at home or not on campus. So anyone with a current JED ID password can access the resources. You click on the resource to access, and you'll be prompted to enter your JED username and password to allow you in. If you want to avoid having to do that, you could click on the login in the upper right corner of the library's website. That logs you into our proxy server, and that'll pass you through our resources. And then, of course, there's always the option of using VPN. So I'm starting with that main search box, that big white search box at the top of the page. The first menu tab and the default search option is for Scopus, and it's an article search. And Scopus allows you to find a few good articles very quickly. And it's multidisciplinary, which is really good for nurses. People like Scopus because it is multidisciplinary in coverage, provides links to citing papers and related articles. So it's a good tool for locating high impact papers, authors, and journals. And you'll see that with every reference that you look at within Scopus and many of our resources, you'll see a black and gold box that says find it. That's the library's full text link, and that can help point you or get you to the full text that the library provides. So have a bigger image of what you might see when you click on the Find It icon. So we've got the icon there, and then here's a resource, Elevating Evidence-Based Practice. And you see there's a box that says Online Access, and you see more than one list there. So you may see only one link there, you may see a list of links. People ask, which one should I click? I say start at the top and work your way down. It used to be each item on a separate line, but start at the front, just keep going until you find one that gets you in. Usually the first one. If we have it in paper and you wanted to physically go up to Welch, you could click the link under Copies in Library, and it'll tell you where in the library we have it, like what stack level it's on. Sometimes you come to an item that we don't license. It's in a journal we don't have access to, or you're interested in a book. If that shows up with the Find It, you'll see that you have the section that says Request via Interlibrary Loan. You click that, log in with your JED username and password. The form will be filled out. You click submit request. You'll get email when the item is received. Most of the time they're processed electronically, unless of course you need a physical book. And generally it's within about a week or so, sometimes sooner. It depends really on how fast the lending library takes to respond to us. You'll get an email telling you that the item's arrived. You click on the link in the email, that'll take you back. You log in with your JED and then you can download the item. Say, you know what you're looking for. You know you're looking for a particular article in Journal of Nursing Research. Do we have nursing research? So you click on the tab, nursing journals, and you can search, you see here, by journals by title or journals by subject. So you're looking by title, you just type nursing research, and you'll be presented with a mid-page with the link to nursing research. You can also just click the A to Z browse to see what journals we have broken out alphabetically. Some people like browsing through those types of A to Z lists. And then there's looking for journals grouped by subject. That's the second of the two boxes there. So this screen here is showing an example of how the searching by subject would present. For this, I was looking for nursing, and I said, organize the list that you present to me by journal impact factor. So this list is showing with the highest nursing impact factor references first, and then in descending order of impact factor. You can also sort it alphabetically. You sort it by a couple of other bibliometric measures, such as site score and such. Most people, they think alphabetically, impact factor. It's going to get read, higher impact factor, more likely to be seen, or alphabetically, because I just want to see what's there. Third tab is our databases tab. And you have two places that you can search here. The top section of the tab allows you to search our biomedical databases. So this would be, does the library have health and psychosocial instruments? Happy. You would type that in there. If you're looking for a database that might not be biomedical, but sociological abstracts, you would search it. You could search it in the, because it actually shows up there. But you could also use the second line there, which searches all of the Hopkins databases that are available to you. And that's one thing you know, that as a Hopkins employee, you have access to pretty much everything that every library subscribes to or licenses. There are a few small exceptions that are physical campus-based, that you have to be physically on that campus, but pretty much 99% of what we have since electronically is made available to anybody who has a JED username and password. So if any of you come from an institution where you searched Medline using Ovid rather than PubMed, we have Ovid Medline. So you could search Medline in that top line, and you'll see the different versions of Medline that we have available, one of them being Ovid Medline. You could click that link and then go and search in an interface that you're more familiar with. Skipping the fourth tab, because I'm going to be talking what that content is in a different slide. We have this information linked in two places. So I'm jumping down to the final tab, just the link to our catalog. It's a shared university catalog, so all Hopkins Library materials are in there. We refer to it as Catalyst. CAT is the catalog of library holdings worldwide. So if you wanted to see the nearest library that had a book that we didn't have, you could search in WorldCat, say, look for give me the list of libraries that have this item. If you see something in our catalog, and our catalog actually has both physical items as well as electronic links, but you see a physical item, you could theoretically request it. Being here, it won't get delivered to Suburban Hospital. We don't deliver to we don't deliver to the hospitals. But we do deliver to the Hopkins campuses that are down in this area. So Montgomery County campus, if you live near SICE or something like that, you could have it delivered there and pick it up there and borrow something. And you would just pick the request pickup, select the location. You'll see the locations where we actually delivery to. Choose the one that's closest to you. And then you get an email when the item is available, and then you would just go there and pick it up. And it would probably already be checked out. So research tools, that's the bottom section on the left. We'll get to the databases. So these tools section, these are some tools that we make available that can help you in ways of your research. The first one I want to talk about briefly is JH Researcher Profiles. The Researcher Profiles lists Hopkins faculty. Unfortunately, it's pretty much just faculty and full-time faculty. But if you're, say, a DNP student and you were looking for a faculty member to work with for your project that was at Hopkins, you could look for that topic in JH Profiles and see all the faculty members that publish in that topic area and then communicate with them. What I'm showing you here is a cool little visual that they have of the research mapping. So for this author who, Diana Baptiste, she's one of the faculty in nursing. These are people she's published with, her co-authors, and the linkages. And the darker the line, the thicker the line of more established relationship. And then they're color coded for whether they're Hopkins personnel or not Hopkins researchers. So it's kind of a cool tool to use. Then there's citation managers. How many people in here know what I'm talking about when I say citation manager? I see a few hands. Oh, great. For those of you that don't use citation managers, they can save your life when you're writing a paper for publication. Basically, it's a place where you import your search result. And then when you're in Word, you go out to your citation manager, say, cite this article. It puts a marker in your Word document. Then you say for an APA or Turabian or for many of the journals, they have the style listed there. And you can just, and your in-text citations and your reference list are in the proper form. So it can save your life. You have access to RefWorks, is a licensed resource that the university pays for. There's also a free version of EndNote, and some of you may have heard of Mendeley or Zotero. We do provide support for those. Those are free up to a point for how most, some they would probably have access to them freely. You have to be using a lot of data to have to start paying for Mendeley or Zotero. We do not have an institute-wide subscription for full-featured desktop version EndNote. It's only EndNote Basic, which is EndNote Online. How many of you have gotten involved in either a systematic or a comprehensive review? You were working with a team and looking at references. I figured we get lots of hands for that. This tool, Covidence, if you're not already using it, we'll want to use it when you get involved in team projects of that nature. Put your references into Covidence. Covidence removes duplicates. You can invite your members, and they don't have to be Hopkins affiliates. So as long as it's set up by somebody at Hopkins, if you were working with somebody from Georgetown, for example, you could invite them to be part of the review, and you and your co-reviewer would go. You would each be working independently, and Covidence is designed to facilitate systematic and large-scale review processes. So, and this is a library licenses it makes available to everyone. Library guides, our library guides and resources. So this tab, but it's also got a link in the resources. These are resources that have been curated by Welch Library informationists to provide easy access to resources that like kind of cross borders. You know, they're books and journals and databases or different disciplines that would be useful to be located all in one. You'll notice that we have a lot of different guides here. There's one for citation management and learning resources. Interestingly enough, that's where our video, our online videos for education live. We need to read that. But medical education, nursing, global health, scholarly publication. So I wanted to pull out a few that you may find particularly useful. The first is, of course, our nursing research guide, our nursing guide. It's designed to support nursing students and practicing nurses. You can see we have tabs nursing contacts, EVP resources, databases for nursing research, Twitter, publishing. So we cover a lot of what might need when it comes to scholarly work, scholarly publication. The databases and searching section has a step-by-step guide to the literature review process, which is always useful to kind of review. And assuming I don't overtalk my time, I'll get to sort of reviewing that in this presentation. There's also tip sheets for several of the databases, so how to more effectively search several of the databases that we provide. We do searching guides. One that covers basic searching tips, that's called expert searching. One that covers systematic reviews and other types of comprehensive. They're designed to do it yourself. So you can sort of, by walking through them, figure out the process or have that through the process. But even though they are designed as self, it's okay to reach out to myself or my colleagues for assistance. You say, I've been working on this search. I'm not finding anything. I need help. Can you help me? Send me an email. We can set up a meeting. I'm happy to meet via Zoom. We also have, there's a request form. So if you know you're walking in a project where you're going to want assistance, you can fill out this literature request form, and then we can have, and then I can do the search for you. Now, if it's for a project, I will not. If it's for work, yes. But class, I'll help you with your search, but I won't do the searching. Work, we recognize that clinicians are busy. This is how we save you time in those types of searches, because we can do them a little more efficiently in many cases. Then we have our scholarly publishing and open access. This guide provides tips and resources for navigating the scholarly publishing landscape. And you'll find tools here to help you decide where to publish, assess journal quality, and protect as an author. Historically, the model has been when you publish, you've signed all your rights to the publisher. Well, in today's open access, you can keep at least enough right to be able to put your own work, full text, on your own website if you want. But you have to, if you're not careful and don't say up front, this is what you want, you'll wind up with a standard publishing contract. And so we have information about that. We have an informationist who is specifically charged with handling inquiries primarily scholarly publishing, and her name is Nancy Shin. Her picture is on the page, as well as her contact information. Finding images. Sometimes you're on a project and you want to find, that's a question I get a lot. Where do I find pictures? So we have a whole guide just on finding images. They're broken out by area, cardiology, dermatology, etc. They don't have everything, and far as nurses, resources that you would probably have available to you that are recently being licensed through the patient education system-wide group that I don't think going to be through the library because we're not the one paying the license. I sit on that group, and we're getting some big image packages that will be available for people, but they're not necessarily going to be available on the university side, like public there. So I'm not sure how to get to them, but the resources at the library be on this page. Well, instruction. So the guides I was just talking, there's somebody do-it-yourself self-guide, but we do have an active instruction program. Being here is an example of that type of thing. So what kind of instruction do we do? We often are embedded in curriculum. We do things like several of my colleagues actively teach courses on searching, either standalone course embedded in a larger course. There's a course in public health, systematic review and data analysis that has a section that's done exclusively by the informationists. We do invited lectures and presentations. We talk at journal clubs. Even library staff have been involved in EBB boot camp over the years. And then orientations. I do surgery for the surgery. This is another department I support. I do their orientation. I do library orientation for the DNP program, and so forth. So, and we, so if you need somebody to talk about, hey, we need help on using RefWorks. I'm happy to presentation again, in person or via Zoom. We can always work. Our classes, as I said earlier, they're all online and you can schedule in the center section of our library webpage. It's open to all JHU affiliates. You sign in with your JED username and password, everything connected to JED. I did mention in our instruction library guide, we have our videos. So this is up on YouTube. We have a really nice video. That lecture series PubMed to find high quality literature is a very nice small bite that each was only about 10-15 minutes long. Small bite that each builds on the previous work for just walking through, refreshing your memory on doing a literature search. So you can go to YouTube, look at the Welch Library channel just to see what we have there. Haven't timed out yet, so your search process. I like to think of it as, it's more a spiral than a circle, but it's a repeating circle process, rather like shampooing, lather, rinse, repeat. So these are the steps. You need. You identify your databases, what keywords you want to, how you want to put them together. Then you do your search. That's the bottom right. And then you record your findings, and then you review what you've done. On your review, you might wind up modifying your search and starting all over. So developing the need and your research question. This is a step that gets glossed over and is really important. How many people, when you're looking, raise your hand if when you're looking for something, you just sort of sit down and Google and stuff. And every hand should be going up. Mine goes up because we all do. But when it comes to looking for literature for evidence, be a little more methodical about it. So you need to think about, need this information for. What's your question? I can't stress enough. Writing in a sentence what your question is, because that forms the basis of all the terms that you're going to use to search. And then you think about, why do you need, what is the reason behind this? Because that tells you how much time you need to spend, how many databases do you know? Can you just looking at CINAHL because you just need a few quick articles, or are you looking to working with a group where you want to change a protocol, and so you need a lot of really good evidence? You know, writing a paper, you only need so many articles. You're working on a systematic review. They all have different needs. Think about people. It's not the only framework you have to use. Our nursing guide has listed several other frameworks that are similar based off of PICO that are also that you could think about. But PICO is one that most nurses know and can work within. Think about, what are your key concepts? What are the terms which you expect the literature to use? And then, think of it, sort of start creating your own mental map or Venn diagram. Down if it helps too. I find creating a table and concept 1, concept 2, concept 3, and putting each separate concept in each column, and then thinking of synonyms can be really helpful for organizing your thoughts. And then identify your databases. This is some of the databases that might be used depending on the question. So we go to nursing. You'd obviously want to look at CINAHL+. If you're looking for evidence literature, definitely want to include JBI, formerly known as Joanna Briggs Institute. There's Nursing Reference Center. This is another resource the library subscribes to. You also want to consider PubMed and MBase because there's a lot of literature in them. If your program, your search is looking more scientific, you'll want to make sure you consider APA PsycInfo, maybe possibly sociological abstracts. You might be looking at something from a business perspective or an perspective. So there are other databases that you would want to include in addition to like your base literature of PubMed and CINAHL type of thing. Especially when you're looking to do larger scale research searching, it is considered best practice to search more than one database. And I'll tell you, reading systematic reviews, If they say they only searched PubMed, I automatically say, okay, this one probably isn't worth much. They only looked at one database. They missed things. So, you know, I tell students when I work with them, I consider 3 databases a minimum. Systematic review. That doesn't mean necessarily you're going to be overwhelmed, but it increases the likelihood that you're not going to miss something relevant. Particularly because the different databases index different things. CINAHL indexes dissertations. Embase indexes conference abstracts. And there's a lot of research literature out there that never gets any higher in the publication chain than being presented at a conference. That doesn't mean it's not valid research. And if it answers and helps to support your point, then use it. Just because it's from a conference, people say, what about peer review? To the best of my knowledge, no conference completely accepts 100% of all abstracts that are submitted to them. Having submitted an abstract and had it denied, I know this for a fact. So while it's not peer review as we think about for journal publications, there is review of some level. So when you're ready to search, think about your search terms. As I said, maybe you've already put your concepts together. Synonyms, think about antonyms. You might want to look a little, before you even start your active searching, and dirty Google searching, just to see what kinds of articles are coming up. What is the language that's being used? Read the titles and abstracts, particularly in an area where you're not familiar with it. If you have key articles, take a look at them, look at their language, look at how they've been indexed, what subjects were used to describe those articles. And of course, it all relates back to your research question. So if I were doing active search, I'd say, okay, here's our question. Does screening for intimate partner violence in women of childbearing age presenting to clinics or hospitals increase identification of women? It's not a good, but it's a PICO formatted question. And it provides enough information that I, as a searcher, could structure a search around it. I'd be looking for intimate partner violence and synonyms for that. Domestic violence, spouse abuse, date rape, marital rape. I'd then be looking at the women of childbearing age, which is really women and then searching by age, saying adolescence through middle age. And then screening. So mass screening, maybe diagnosis, but that goes into a different direction. And then I think about other things that I would want. So those would be my 3 concepts for searching. Once you've done all that background work, then you can start putting it into the database. Use controlled vocabulary, and I'll briefly talk about what controlled vocabulary is. And then these search features beneath here are all search features that most databases have available to you. They all are handled differently, but most databases do make them available. So controlled vocabulary. Think of it nowadays, I find the easiest way to get people to understand what controlled vocabulary is think of them like hashtags. Just like you use a hashtag to point eyes to your social media posts. Controlled vocabulary points eyes to articles by being the keywords that describe what the articles are about. Most of the databases have a controlled vocabulary and they use different terms. So PubMed, intimate partner violence, for example. In PubMed, you had to search domestic violence up until 2016 for intimate partner violence. It is now subject as intimate partner violence. It's always been intimate partner violence in CINAHL, and in Embase, they use partner violence. So Embase has a subject term for marital rape. PubMed and CINAHL do not. So these are all things that you learn when you're looking at and looking through the controlled vocabularies. PubMed is called Mesh. In Embase, it's Mtree. CINAHL uses CINAHL subject headings and so forth. The advantage is because when you're searching the databases, you're not searching the full text. These pointers tell you what these articles are about. And that's why it's so important to use them. Then, am I at time or?
Right at time.
Right at time. Well, I provided the slides. I hope they can be shared with everybody because, you know, I had a feeling I wouldn't get all the way through. I try not to do that. Again, I try not to have more slides than I have time to talk. But I did want to get through. I do want to show on our page, our webpage, is a line that says find your informationist. You can click that. It takes you to this page, shows all the different informationists. You can search by department, or you can actually, Suburban Hospital has got its own line, and it'll point you to me because I'm the informationist for Suburban. So it gives our contact information. This slide talks about what some of the things that we like as informationists that we were able to do for you, assist you with. And then this slide is just basically links to go right into some of the things that I've already demonstrated. And I'm at time for no questions or at time for questions?
The time total.
Oh, I'm so sorry.